Hi, Melissa. Nice to meet you. I'm just going to run through how you set up a SWOT analysis. I'm going to pretend that you're just running one activity, but you can also create a workspace where you can have several activities with the one invite. But for now, I'm just going to go ahead and create the SWOT analysis. Okay, so that's the template that we have here, which you can obviously name and add any descriptions that you might like. Customize it by changing its color or adding an image. You can also change the descriptions if you have some specific descriptions that you want, or if you wanted to change the layout so that it was in lists. Okay, this is where our GroupMaps gets really interesting. You can work through the different processes for running your session with your participants. So for example, the brainstorming process, you could have it so that it was just you typing in ideas, or you could have everyone add in, say, just 4 ideas, so one under each heading. You can choose to have it so it's collaborative, that in the sense that when one person types in a comment, it's seen by everyone else. Or if you prefer it to be sort of a less anchoring based process and you want people to contribute their own ideas before they see what everyone else has done, then you would click on individual. Okay, I'll go to the next one. We have a whole range of ways that you can brainstorm ideas and then prioritize them. So you could, for example, you could rate each strength, weakness, opportunity, and threat by the level of impact, or you can add your own dimension, and you can either use a perception scale such as low to high impact or likelihood versus a score, say, out of 10, or you could change that as well. And if you wanted to, you could also create weighted ratings. But generally speaking, we find most people are happy with a general score. If you want it not to have to rate, you can obviously just delete this step. Or if you prefer, you can add a different step, such as voting for the top one out of each category. And you might allocate a single vote and allow them to cast that vote on a particular idea. Okay, so we'd obviously want to move the vote before we see the results. So I've just given you 2 examples there, but you can go ahead and check out some of the other kind of things we have here. For example, after voting, they might have to create some actions, having talked about solutions to those particular areas. Down here, you can change the anonymity. So right now it's off. You can make it partial so that it's just you that can see names, but it's unseen between participants. Or you can make it fully anonymous. But please be aware that that means it's fully anonymous to you also. All right. So now we can go ahead and, but before I go ahead and create the map, just to let you know, you can obviously go ahead and customize things like additional descriptions or a color legend if you wanted to code things, but that's probably not necessarily in this stage, but you can do that with different maps. So if I go ahead and create that, you'll see the introduction comes up here. Oops. This. I can now invite participants in, and if you're in a large room, you might have predominantly contributors, so you might get them to scan a code, or they can use this 9-digit PIN that you can copy into a link, or you can invite them via email. Once they've been invited in, they can obviously go ahead and, oops, I'll just close off this pane. We can go ahead and just add some random ideas under each one of these. Because I've limited it to 4, I've just got 4 and it stops me, so I can go ahead and just change that. Let's make it unlimited again. Okay, so after this stage here, if you had done it collaboratively, hopefully it all makes sense. But let's say you had some ideas that were the same, and you wanted to group this. I haven't added in a group stage, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. So I'll go and customize, and after the brainstorming, I need to add in a group stage. And I'm going to make it so that it's just me as the facilitator that can group ideas based on what people say. Cool. So you'll see that the moment I save changes, my process flow comes here at the top. So now if I go to group, I can kind of click on the ideas that are the same and create a group, call it the same idea, and it clusters them all together, but gives me an audit list of where the ideas came from. I could also quickly search for all ideas that contain, say, the letter A, and it highlights all of those, and I can select all of those to create a group. And if I wanted to, I can then ungroup certain ideas. So that's the grouping process done. Once I've done that, I can go ahead and rate the different strengths, for example. So here I might say that the impact and the other dimension is this. Go to the next one and do that. This is all done individually, so they won't see the ratings of everyone else while they're going through this process. Alternatively, if they didn't rate, they could vote on, say, the top strengths that they wanted to look at or discuss, and then you'll be able to see the results, and it automatically will tally or give you the average rating of the group. Because I've got two different ones here, I can actually sort the ideas, say, by the highest impact, which happen to correspond with the number of votes. With each of the ideas, you can then have additional comments. People can add images if they wanted to. Things like that. You can disable those functions too if you like. But this starts to give you an idea about how they might go around creating a SWOT analysis and discussing it. If you wanted to break out the groups and they wanted to work on one area at a time, there's the opportunity to show something like this in full screen. So they can work on that, especially if they're just doing it on their mobile phones or a tablet and they wanted to expand it out to a full screen mode. They can do that. Otherwise, they can see the full picture. Finally, when you view the reports, it will generate a map image and you can download a PDF or a JPEG. Just let it process that. It'll show you the process that you set up to create your map, the people you had in the session, the ideas that were generated, any comments that were made, if there was any chat but we didn't use that feature, what happened in each stage of the process. So for example here, all the ratings, which by the way, you can export any of these into Excel. And if you wanted some additional columns, you can just add additional columns. So how things were rated, how things were voted, or the whole lot. So the results will give you the whole lot. And again, you can choose what you want to extract out. It's a really simple tool to use in terms of the participants. They just basically, when they get the invite code, they come to this screen, they enter in what they need to. So you're just collecting the data that way. Helps you facilitate the conversations a lot quicker because you can kind of just scroll from one topic to the next. And there's no manual rewriting of ideas from one group to the next. You can assign different roles to people if you wanted to, but that will depend on the license that you go for. If it's just a 35 to 40 group and it's a single facilitator, to be able to customize and use all the features I've talked about, it's $60 for the month. and $600 for the year if you prefer an annual plan. If you have any other questions, let me know, but hopefully this demo gives you a quick rundown of what GroupMap can do in terms of SWOT. Thanks for your time. Oh my gosh, how do I stop this now? Let's. Select meeting. Why won't it stop?